Hi friends, I am one among you. This is a record of the quest I had. Are we ready for artificial lab grown meat? Over the past decade, we have seen the media place a lot of blame for our changing climate on cattle for promoting artificial lab grown meat. In their point of view, lab grown meat is a more sustainable solution from an environmental standpoint. The animals suffer less and it has less bacteria because cultured meat is grown in a sterile environment. But in realistic approach, the production of cultured meat on a gigantic scale can really require a massive amount of heat and electricity for maintaining a sterile environment. Although animals may not suffer when lab-grown meat thrive. However, since the cells needed for the culture practice remain an animal cell, animals still will die, especially at such a large scale need. The present eating habit of the populace is shifting to organic produce, that is natural foods. This may, however, render the demand of lab-grown meat lower than expected. In this documentation, let us discuss in detail about the greenhouse gas emissions from the cattle versus transportation vehicles resulting in global warming. A scientific approach. Cattle do produce a lot of methane gas, primarily through enteric fermentation and fermentation in manure. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas that, along with nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, and some other compounds in the atmosphere, create a blanket around our planet to keep us warm. This is a good thing. Without this atmospheric blanket, the earth would be too cold for us to survive. The current problem is that concentrations of these gases in the atmosphere are increasing, which is thickening our blanket. Methane from cattle production is part of a natural carbon cycle that has been happening since the beginning of life on our planet. Through photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is extracted from the atmosphere and fixed as carbohydrates in plant material. Cattle consume these carbohydrates, which in part are decomposed in the animal and excreted in manure, where some of the carbon is transformed to carbon dioxide and methane gases respirate back to the atmosphere. Most of this methane is oxidized in the troposphere, lowest level of atmosphere, by hydroxyl radicals through a chain of reactions. Within about 10 years of its release, more than 90% of the methane is removed from the atmosphere with the carbon in the methane, ultimately transformed back to carbon dioxide to become available for fixation in plants. If we compare the emissions from cattle to those emitted by vehicles through the combustion of fossil fuels, both affect the blanket around our planet. However, there is a major difference between these two sources of greenhouse gases. When we burn fossil fuels, we take carbon that has been stored in the earth since prehistoric times and convert it to carbon dioxide released to the atmosphere. For every gallon of fuel consumed, about 20 pounds of carbon dioxide are created and released to the atmosphere. Some of this carbon dioxide is absorbed by the oceans and soil, but we are releasing this gas more rapidly than it can be absorbed. For this reason, we are observing a relatively rapid increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration, and this effect on the atmosphere will be with us for thousands of years, whereas cattle are part of a natural cycle with short-term impact. Burning of fossil fuels has a much more permanent impact. Cattle numbers are only part of the consideration in global warming, though hybrid cattle are getting larger and more productive. Therefore, they consume more feed and produce more methane per animal. So, what might be causing the increase in methane concentration in the atmosphere? Methane is also released during the extraction, refining, and transport of fossil fuels. Natural gas is methane, and we have seen an increase in the production of natural gas. Leakage from oil and natural gas wells and during the distribution of natural gas are sources of increased emissions. This again is taking carbon that has been stored in the earth and releasing it to our atmosphere. This methane will also oxidize to form carbon dioxide, but this is not part of a natural cycle. This source adds new carbon dioxide to the atmosphere with very long-term effects. Thus, we can conclude that cattle is part of a natural carbon cycle, and within this cycle, there is no long-term impact on climate if methane emission and oxidation are in balance. Finally, reducing any source of greenhouse gas emission will be benefit our planet. Don't go against nature, else nature may go against you. If this information boosts your driving force of your search, subscribe, like and share.